And we left off with how Johanna uses structure in the book to help us understand really what we are made of, a part of, and need to examine if we want to move into an experience of greater flow and expansion in our lives. You know, in the first segment, she said something that I really love. She said, I said, these are great times to be alive. And she said, it's always a great time to be alive. And that just pretty much characterizes the love affair that she has with life. She really has been someone who has sought to really enjoy her life. And she's put this into a little book that can help us grasp what this love affair with life looks like. And it is a process. It is work. And Johanna, you know, you mentioned in your book you used a statistic that we've spoken about before on air. I do want to get back to structures, but something like we have 60,000 thoughts a day, and 95 to 98% of them are repetitive. And you brought, you know, we were talking about belief, basically, how one examines one's beliefs, because everything that we do, from deciding what kind of milk to buy to where we go to church or what kind of car we buy, is based upon a belief. And a lot of the work that you have people do is really examine through the use of the right questions. There's a lot of people out there seeking answers. And here's the thing, listeners. We get the answers we want when we ask the right questions. We have to ask the right questions.
We always get the answers. We don't always hear them.
No, thank you. That is absolutely true. The way our life shows up is an indicator of how well we're listening. Right? We have if we have experiences that keep repeating, and we want to, you know, we say, why does this keep happening to me? There's an answer.
Well, the answer is pretty simple, because the universe rearranges itself to accommodate our picture of reality.
Right.
So if we believe that life is miserable in a certain way, and our thoughts run around that all day long, then the universe says, oh, okay, you want your life to be this way. And the evidence will come. Whatever you focus on, the evidence will come to support that. So if you change your focus, the evidence will come to support the new focus.
Right, and that's what you make the statement in the Transformation Promise. Your energy automatically feeds your focus. What you feed will grow. I wrote that down because I thought that was a very profound statement, and it's just the absolute essence of creating our reality. It's there based upon where we're focusing. A lot of what we're thinking, a lot of what we're believing is unconscious for the most part until we bring it into consciousness. Would you agree with that?
Well, unconscious, but a lot of it is conscious too, and we still don't really pay attention to it. Okay. So I'm aware of the 66,000 useless thoughts I have a day, but I still have them.
Yeah. But it sounds like you stepped back to be able to observe them. You know, do they serve me? Is this really what I want to be focusing on? And I think that's part of the transformation. Any type of transformational change is that when we train ourselves, when we allow ourselves to step back and be an observer of our thoughts, and then ask ourselves, really, is that really what I want to think? Is that really what I choose to believe?
Yeah. And, of course, it's important to observe your thoughts, but it's also really important to be compassionate with yourself. Because if you start to fight your thoughts and you want to be different and you beat it out of yourself and you put this regiment on you, I got to get in control of my mind, it might not work. It's better to say, okay, well, I've had another 10,000 useless thoughts just now. It's okay. Next hour I'll try doing better. Yeah, compassion is probably, I think, one of the most important aspects of life. Compassion towards yourself and towards others, because they're not doing anything different. They have their thoughts and belief systems and pains, and they act from that. And I would say almost everything that is not pleasant comes from fear.
I'm in 100% agreement with that, and so are a multitude of other people. We're beginning to appreciate the detrimental effect that fear has on us, and we're learning to confront our fears, to understand them. We're taking a break, and when we come back, as I said, there's numerous ways that she's laid out the book. We'll talk about flow versus control. We'll talk about larger structures and grids. We've got a lot to talk about. And once again, we're here with Johanna Derbolowski, author of The Transformation Process. Promise. Geez, I'm so sorry, Johanna.
That's okay.
The Transformation Promise. I've done this about 4 times already. And she's basically sharing her growth, her development, where she's at today with others, because she's laid it out in a really organized and incredibly powerful way. It has to do with examining, asking ourselves questions, the right questions, getting to the core of a number of ideas about the various structures that we find ourselves in. And I want to say this, Johanna. In one of the parts of the book, you write the chapter title is Desire to Change or Heal. And you make the statement that it's often not as strong as the ties we have. And I used to say when working with clients, okay, this person does not want to be sick, but do they want to be well? And, you use a questionnaire with your clients that pretty much helps someone get very clear on this, because there's a difference between not wanting something, moving away from something, and actually moving towards that which we desire. Do you mind sharing, some of the questions that people would ask themselves to get clear on where their desire really is?
Yeah, that questionnaire, by the way, is not that good for business. So I caution people here. I ask people when they come in, do they want to heal, actually?
Right.
The first question is always yes, of course, and they get irritated about it. And the next question is the next questions are leading to what are the benefits of whatever ailment they have. And there's always benefits to everything. We're living in a universe of duality, so there is a positive to every negative. And when they become clear about the change that will happen with getting, transforming this particular problem that they have, a lot of times they pull back because we're afraid of the new.
Right.
We like what we know, and even if what we know is painful, that pain is still more manageable than the fear of what if there's something completely new.
In other words, it's serving even our pain is serving a purpose. And if we want to be well and we begin to examine what benefits a particular situation are bringing into our lives, we have to get really honest with the fact that there is some benefit, because most people would right away say, well, like you said, they get irritated. Of course I want to be well. And this was a question I used to ask people. Well, there's a difference between not wanting to be sick and wanting to be well. There's a big difference. And would try to help them grasp that what I was there for was to help them be well, right? I wasn't there to help them not be sick. I was there to help them to try and be well. And so this is a pivotal decision point that people have to make, because, give some examples. You give so many stories and case histories and examples, and I have plucked a couple out that I want to talk about later. Like, I want to talk about Jake's story later, because like so many of us, we don't realize that we have this story, and that our stories and the words that we use to define our story are very, very powerful when talking about our lives. But we'll do that a little later. I think just the point being, once they pull back because they're afraid of the new. But let's talk about specifically, you give an example of somebody who works for a pharmaceutical company. And why don't you just share that example for listeners to help them understand what you're talking about in terms of how our fear can overcome our desire for change.
In that particular example, I talked about somebody that worked for a pharmaceutical company that manufactures a medication that manages her condition. But it doesn't heal the condition. But it works well, and it makes her functional. And so the family and everybody depends on that income, the house, the car, the vacations. And now somebody comes along and says, hey, here's a way to actually heal that condition. So at that moment, with that healing, the condition will change, but now also the work with the pharmaceutical company that only manages that particular condition is questionable.
Right.
Can one any longer work for a company that only manages something that I now know can be healed? And what will my family say if now we're going to be poor and living on the wrong side of town because I'm healthy?
Right.
So those are all questions, and then that's a big change. But it's almost always a big change.
And that is such a common condition in today's world. There are many, many, many people working at jobs that do not serve them, but they have these structures, relationships, agreements in place. And by honoring themselves, all of these things around them are going to shift. And it's that fear of those shifts that will keep someone stuck in doing something that is really not in their best interest.
Yeah, but there's always help because the universe always helps us along on our path, and the pain will just get bigger and more noticeable until finally maybe you're unable to work any longer, or when we internally have outgrown our structures and we become aware of them and we ignore them, it will be more painful until we open up to an expansion.
Right.